Well, welcome everyone to the 103rd Open NLP Hypnosis Meet Up. And tonight we've got something a little different. Tonight we have the opportunity to welcome in our guest, Christina Schimanietz. Christina is a mindset coach, an NLP trainer, hypnotist, business owner of Serotonin Rising. And Christina, congratulations on your very recent graduation at a 1.0 for your bachelor's degree in media communications and management. Well done. Now, the primary reason I really wanted Christina to come along here tonight is I often get asked, so what's it like training with Dr. Bandler? What is it like trainers training? What is this trainers training? What goes on? How exciting is it? Yada, yada, yada. As for many of you that are watching this now and on video, you may be aware that at the moment, trainers training is only held in Orlando, Florida. No relation of mine. I think they had the name first. But I thought it'd be a wonderful opportunity because Christina is literally days back in Germany from completing successfully, I might add, her trainers training with Dr. Richard Bandler. So tonight, welcome, Chris. It's lovely to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're very, very welcome. So I thought we'll just kick straight into it. Chris, can you start off by telling us a little bit about your journey, how you became aware of or interested in NLP, and what path of learning that you took?
Yeah, so basically back in school, I struggled with mathematics, and my first ever experience with NLP was anchoring. So I don't know how familiar you guys are with anchoring, basically taking an external trigger and linking that to an emotion that is helpful. For example, on your earlobe. And my mom, she's a psychotherapist, and she trained this anchoring technique with me back in school, so I could use this helpful emotion of safety, of calmness in my mathematics exam. And that was the first time I got hooked on that topic. And I was 16 years old that time, so it's 10 years ago now. And then my dad actually gave the NLP practitioner to my sister and me when I was 19 years old. You know, other kids, they get a bicycle for Christmas or they get a PlayStation or something. And my dad just said, you guys go to do your NLP practitioner. And I didn't even know what that was at that time. I just thought it has something to do with personal development, something to do with linguistics and with neurology and with programming. So I went there with my sister, who's 2 years younger than me, and it literally changed my life because I finally got the answers to everything that I was asking myself about life, about myself, about how things work in the brain when people communicate to each other. And then I did this practitioner with Mark Plätzer and Wiebke Lüth in the Fresh Academy. They used to do that together. They're not together anymore. They're training separately now. This is where I did my practitioner. And then in 2019, I actually came across Florian and Miriam, who are good friends of Orlando and Amanda. And I did my NLP master practitioner with them, where I also met Orlando and Amanda at that time. And Orlando actually showed me one of my still working, very big, helpful anchors. It moves that way, by the way. And just a side note on that. And yeah, I got even more hooked with NLP, and it changed my life even more. And I started noticing that the people around me would change as well for better. And my family would feel better, my friends would feel better, and I would influence the people around me on a positive note. And then I decided to also step into NLP coaching before the whole pandemic situation started. And I trained with Miriam and Florian again, and also did my hypnosis training with them. So when I was an NLP coach and hypnosis coach, I then thought, okay, well, what's the next step for me? And I asked Miriam when the next NLP Trainers Training will happen. And she said, well, we don't know yet because of the pandemic situation. And so I just kept taking track on when it's happening the next time. And I found out in January this year, it's in March this year. And at the same time, I was finishing my bachelor's degree. So I didn't really have the time to, get prepared for the trainer's training, because my focus was on the bachelor's degree. And then I said to myself, you're going to finish that, and then you're going to focus on the next part. And the next part was the trainer's training. And I just booked it 2 weeks in advance, went there, and the rest is history.
That's pretty awesome, Christina. Now, just out of interest, when we met in, what was the name of the area that we met in Germany there?
It was in Sauerland in Arnsberg, and we like to call it the Magic Mountain, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I know it as the Magic Mountain, an absolutely wonderful training location that Miriam Florian used to utilize before, as Context Deacon, they opened up their own NLP training academy, much closer to their home, which is a wonderful, wonderful place. So when you were doing your master practitioner, were you studying your degree at that stage, or were you working somewhere, or what were you doing then?
Yeah, I was studying in media and communications management at that time already, and I was just about to start. Now, I started my studies in 2018, and I did my NLP trainings and everything besides university. So it never really, I never really learned anything about NLP in uni, even though I studied communications. I kind of expected that. But this part of uni didn't really tick the communication part for me. That's why it was so helpful for me to go into NLP and use the techniques and everything that I've learned in uni as well.
Oh, that's absolutely fantastic. So that brings us to a month and a half ago or thereabouts. Yeah. And at that time, a few weeks ago, you headed to Florida and completed your training to become an NLP trainer with Dr. Richard Bandler. Now, please tell us about that experience.
Okay, so first of all, I arrived in the hotel and I knew that Dr. Richard Bandler and John Laval and Kathleen Laval will live there as well in the same hotel. So I thought, how cool would it be if I would meet them before the actual seminar will start? And I went upstairs again because I forgot something in my hotel room. Beep, the elevator opened, and who was standing there in the elevator? Dr. Richard Bandler himself. And I literally shared the elevator with him. And I felt like a fangirl. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Harry Styles. My sister is a huge fan of Harry Styles. And it was almost this admiring feeling, meeting a role model that I've been modeling and eliciting and studying for so many years already. I've almost watched every video that is out there of Richard Bandler, and I'm anchored on his voice. So when I was sharing this elevator with him, I felt very honored, and I couldn't really say much. I just stared at the wall and I soaked up the energy. And then when I left the elevator, I just looked at him and said, "See you tomorrow." And then he said, "See you tomorrow." And the next day, the first day of the seminar started. And guys, it was, I would say, one of the best experiences I had in my life, because I don't know if there are better trainer trainings out there in the world. And I'm so honored that with 26 years old, I was able to go there and to experience that. Because being in an environment with so many skilled people, so many communications specialists and experts, is just, it's the creme de la creme. And I met Kay, I met Tanya, I met John, Juan, who else? So many trainers from Germany, from Spain, from the UK as well. And yeah, I think the biggest learning that I took away from there was that I now really know how to think on purpose to get to where I want to be.
Very cool. Now, a little birdie told me that you met Richard in the elevator, and as it turned out, he may have remembered you. And did you have an experience that others may not have had in the room in a different place?
I did, yeah. So
Go on, tell the story.
I think it was day 3 or day 4 of the seminar, and he looked in the audience and he said, "Okay, so who of you guys is ready to come on stage?" And I was like, "Yep, I'm ready to go on stage because this is why I'm here for." And he looked around and he said, "I want someone who is responsive enough, but not too responsive." I didn't know what that meant at that time. And then he just said, "You're the young lady there." And I thought in my head, "Okay, old man." And then I went up there, sat next to him, and my heart was crazy, because being so close to someone who's such an important role model, yeah, just a very exciting situation. So I sat next to him and he was doing a hypnosis demo with me in front of the audience. And it was the first time for me experiencing being in a state of a deep trance and at the same time having such a high heart rate. It was so weird. And then I put my focus on controlling my heart rate, putting it down so I could relax. And all I remember from that is that the rest of the day I felt extraordinary. I honestly don't remember much of that. And people came to me and said, "Hey, Chris, so how was it sharing the stage with Richard Bandler and being hypnotized by him?" I was like, "Guys, it was great. I don't know what else happened, but it was great." And I think I'm anchored on his voice as well. And I'm so used to hypnosis already that I think I take every opportunity that is there and I just drop into that nice state of relaxation because it's so helpful.
And just out of interest, just on that point, Chris, having had that experience with Richard and that depth of hypnosis, that experience in front of everyone else, do you think that now influences the way that you work with individuals when you are the practitioner and they are the ones going into hypnosis, now that you know where you've been? Does that make it easier to take someone else there?
Definitely. That's a very good question. I have to say, before I went to the trainers training, I did hypnosis already in my trainings and in my coachings. And sometimes I had this little voice in the back of my head, sometimes whispering, "I don't know if this is the right thing to do right now," or I wasn't 100% sure if I'm good enough at what I'm doing there. Obviously, it always worked perfectly, but there was still a bit of self-doubt. And yeah, since I'm back from Florida and having this close experience, I believe in myself so much more and I'm so ready to go for it. And I was saying to my boyfriend, Ben, who's sitting over there, it's like, I'm so ready to finally do all that stuff and show you how to do that, because I wasn't ready to do that before. And now I'm so ready for it.
Oh, that's very cool.
Big difference.
If you were to pick out, and I'm not asking for one here, it might be more than one.
Yeah.
What did you enjoy the most about that week in Florida?
Being able to notice a lot of things that Richard Bandler was doing when he was talking on stage. Not getting lost in the content of what he was saying, but actually keeping track of which loop he's talking about right now, what anchors he's throwing, or which embedded command he's using. So being more aware with every day that kept going, because this is what we were trained for, to actually not just sit there and be like, okay, this is entertainment. We're in Orlando anyways. There are all the theme parks around. This is entertainment. But actually being awake and aware and noticing what's going on, because he was always saying, I'm demonstrating everything you guys will learn the whole time. So look and learn and listen. I think using the embedded commands even more precisely. Yeah.
That's very cool. And would you say that that level of awareness that you gained while during that training, has that come home with you? Has that maintained?
Yes, it does. And the cool thing is that I now almost feel like I have this switch that I can flick on this side of my head. Like I would imagine it here inside of my forehead, and I could be like, okay, I'm aware now. I can notice things around me even more. And also, I was listening to podcasts of Miriam and Florian today when I was driving the car. And that's for people who've never heard about NLP or who've just started their practitioner. So people who are interested in communication in general. And noticing so many things now from a trainer's perspective is amazing. It's life-changing. I'm so happy about this experience.
I think we're getting that. Oh yeah. So what about give us a bit of an overview of the people that you met that were other participants on the course. Were they predominantly from America or from all over the show, or?
So I think it was about 75 people in total. I don't know how many people this whole course is. Normally it's, I think, around 100 people usually. So it was 75, and we were a big group of Germans. I'm from Germany, by the way. Big group of Germans. Most of them were from Hamburg, and I was there with my dad actually, because he's an NLP trainer as well. So big German group, and then big group from Indonesia, and then a smaller group from Israel. And obviously a few people from the UK, a few from America, and I think that's it from the nationality. So it was very international, which I loved as well, to see, watching people present on stage without knowing the language, because it's not important what they said, it's just important how they would say it. Oh, and Italy was there as well, yeah.
Oh yeah, go Team Italy.
Yeah.
And what was the general vibe like? Like, I think we understand that in the training room you were running at a certain frequency, shall we say? But in the evening, did you spend your time with other participants, or did you go out on your own, or?
I actually, I put the learnings into practice for just, sometimes I just had to chill and sleep and relax, because also following the whole content and process in English, which is not my native language, was exhausting for me, and also being awake the whole time. So sometimes I took a break. Sometimes, I think 3 times out of the whole time, I went out with people that I've met there for dinners or for drinks. And every evening I also took an hour just for myself to go through what I've learned and put that into practice, because obviously, being an NLP practitioner, you want to practice as well, even though there's a question coming already, even though we have learned to believe in ourselves even more. Yeah.
Very cool. So there are a few questions, and if you're quite happy to, then I'm just going to plow on and carry on with those questions if you're keen.
Yeah.
Righty ho. So we've got a question here from Rich. Where did you get the name Serotonin Rising?
Yeah, I love the question. So serotonin is obviously a neurotransmitter that helps the brain and the body to relax. And when I did my NLP master practitioner training with Miriam and Florian, we did 1 whole day of hypnosis introduction, the whole day. And that was what basically catched me in this topic. So I was educating myself more about what's going on in the brain when people relax. And if something is rising, it's always giving me a good feeling. I like sunrises. I like people lifting each other. And obviously serotonin rising sounds great. And a person, it's a friend of mine from Germany, he looked at my coaching name and he said, Serotonin Rising, 0 to 9. Why didn't you choose 0 to 10? So you can take it the way you want. This is how the name came up.
That's very cool. Rich has also asked, what was the best thing you got from the training?
I would say that's a very good question. That's what I would say. Taking pauses and making pauses for myself and also in speaking, because it draws the attention back to the speaker, right? When there's a pause. And it also helps me as a speaker to go back through what I wanted to say, go back to the next state or story or whatever there is, and slowing down the pictures to get an overview.
Very cool. A couple of questions from Pam here. Was there something you understood one way before the training that changed a lot after the training?
Can you explain that question to me?
Okay,
I
so
don't understand 100%.
Was there something, there was something in your behavior or your knowledge that you had an understanding of one way, but after the training, you were able to understand it a whole different way?
Yes. Why? So I asked myself, why do NLP trainers do demonstrations in front of a group, especially with hypnosis, for example, or with NLP techniques? And I always thought it's because people want to see how it works, right? Having a demonstration, looking at how it works so I can model it and I can do it myself. What I've learned from John Laval and Richard Bandler is that, of course, this is the one part, but the other perspective is that you then get the attention of the audience again. So for example, if I would pick someone of the audience and we would all be in a room right here, and I would pick Pam, for example, and do a hypnosis demonstration here, I would not just put the hypnotic suggestions into her unconscious, but also into the unconscious of the audience, because I would speak to the audience and look at the audience at the same time as I would speak to her. So this is a big learning that I didn't know before.
So as much as everyone's getting to watch you in action and watch the demonstration in action, they're actually having the experience themselves, whether they're aware of it or not.
Yes.
Very cool. That's an awesome learning. There's a second question here. What are the 3 best preparations to have before the training?
So, you mean before the whole trainers training, before the first day starts?
I think so. I'm going to interject. This is Pam. I didn't want to ask what's the best thing to have because that's so general and, we'll get all blah, 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 blah. So out of the preparation that you did before the training, and I mean, years of preparation, what kind of set you up best to be successful when you attended this particular training with Richard? And I picked 3 things because I didn't want just one.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I think learning and educating yourself about what nested loops are, first thing. And then learning and educating yourself about what embedded commands are, second thing. And then also what's the word in English? When you put anchors on the floor so you can upchain through
spatial
the
anchors.
Sorry?
Spatial anchoring.
Yeah, the spatial anchors and upchaining. So get yourself an NLP trainer that tells you what's going on there, because that's what I did. I took my dad, who's an NLP trainer, and I asked him, what can I expect? Because he told me what I can focus on and what I will then learn every day, even though they obviously swap and change things in their plan. So I knew what I was looking for, and I knew what I was learning, and then I could dig deeper into that in the evening. Can you explain chaining?
Yeah, so I think Rich's question there is chaining, as in up chaining is chaining anchors.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Would you mind giving a brief?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, it's about, first of all, managing states, different states. And as a trainer, you want to take your audience from, for example, a state of hesitation to a state of going for something, right? Because you want to train someone, you want someone to learn something. But hesitation to going for it is a very big chunk. So we put different chunks in between there. So you can go from hesitation, maybe to frustration, maybe to impatience, maybe then to want and desire, and then to going for it. So you pick different states throughout the story that you're telling that the unconscious of the audience is following. This is upchaining. And you can do that with anchors, for example, to put anchors on the floor of the stage. So you step in the first anchor and you tell the story about the first state. And then you go into the next one and you tell the story about the next state. So you take the audience with you. Doesn't matter what you say, because when you anchor the states, the audience will go into the state as well as they watch and listen to you.
So by moving across the stage like that, the story that you're telling, or the metaphor that you're using, is to elicit the first state. For example, like as you said, hesitation. And once their audience appears to be feeling that hesitation,
yeah.
physically moving yourself to then set a separate anchor of impatience through metaphorical storytelling.
Yeah.
Frustration and impatience. Doing that 5 times, and then would you be moving backwards and forwards across the stage to bring those anchors together, to chain them together, as it were?
Yeah, you would chain them together.
Does that answer your question there, Rich? 2 thumbs up for that one.
And the interesting part about that is I didn't really know what this all means, because this is the stuff that I didn't learn in my practitioner, and I didn't learn in my master practitioner, and neither in my coach. This is part that you learn in the NLP Trainers Training. And you will learn it there. I thought it was helpful to at least read a bit about it, or watch a bit of Richard Bandler online to see what he's doing, to be more aware of what he's doing.
Yeah. What did you want to walk out of there with when you walked in, other than just a certificate?
Being relaxed when I speak in front of an audience, and influence them on a different level without them even expecting, or without them noticing that there is something beautiful happening on another level.
Very cool. And I imagine that 3 years ago, you, as you've explained with awareness, your father's intention would have been quite different. Like he was doing the training for a different purpose.
Exactly. Yeah. For sales reasons, mainly.
Yeah. Absolutely cool.
And it's also, sorry to interrupt you, it's the trainer's training on the one hand, and then it's also called the charisma enhancement. So you don't have to have an NLP practitioner or master to go there to do the course. Only if you want to be a licensed NLP trainer, you have to have the practitioner and master. I can actually show you the handbook if you want.
You can if you wish.
Yeah.
Sure.
I wish to, because it's cool for you to see it. This is how it looks like. And the charisma enhancement is for the people that don't do the NLP training, and the trainer's training is for the NLP people.
Very cool. We've got another really good question here, I feel, from Diliana. What was the hardest thing about it?
You know what? The hardest thing was for me to always give myself the push and go on stage again, because every day there was a recording. So they had a camera in the back, and everyone would get an SD card. And the first day you go on stage in front of everyone and you do a little presentation. So you tell them about yourself, you tell them about what you do, whatever you wanted to tell about yourself. And then every day there was a new recording. So you would go on stage again and again and again and again. And there's no going around that. So it's always that push of going on stage. And that was the hardest thing for me to go through, that fear of being nervous, or that fear of, am I doing this the right way, or am I applying everything that I've learned the correct way? Because obviously I wanted to perform very well and do the best I could.
So how did you know that? Like after you've been on stage each day, what would happen after that?
We would get feedback of one of the NLP trainers that are around and that are assisting Richard Bandler and John Laval. So around 10 trainers were there to always take care of all the students. And every presentation was around 3 minutes. And then I would go back and get my SD card and straight away go out of the room, and I would get feedback straight away on how I did, what I could improve. And that's amazing because I knew what exactly I could work on.
So immediately after you've presented something, within minutes, you were getting quality feedback straight away that you could implement. Well, that's, I think that's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. And besides that, there's so much that happens at the same time. There's training on how to talk in a rhythm with music running in the background. There is people applauding to you and screaming and lifting you up the whole time, which is just giving you such a great feeling when you go on stage again and again and again. And with every day you practice it, it gets easier to a point that you love to be on stage. So I'm totally going out on a limb here, and I'm going to ask, did you achieve the outcome that you wanted when you went along to the training, to be comfortable and relaxed on stage? Yes, I did. I did. And the stages I had until, since I'm back in Germany, they were only online like this, Zoom calls.
We've got another question there has come up. How did your understanding of, I think it's to be language, how did your understanding of language?
Yeah, sorry, Orlando, I haven't finished typing yet. How did your understanding of the language change from your university degree to when you went on the learners course? So what variations of understanding did you have in language and communication skills before you went on the course, as you finished university, to then when you went on the course?
I know that this is going to YouTube, and shout out to my university. It's a great uni, but I didn't learn anything about communications there. I learned a lot about handling media and putting communication into theory, but not applying it for a desired state. So I would even say that I cannot compare the trainers training to university, because it's such a different world, very, very different world. Because with the trainers training, it is about every single person there. Every single person is the main character, as you want. And every single person in the trainers training gets amazing feedback and gets a few minutes every day to be on stage and gets the space to evolve. University is a very different concept. And I decided to go into uni to, have something safe. And because I was interested in my course that I studied.
How much theory is required to be learned at trainers training?
Yeah, so something that is required to become an NLP trainer is to send in a synopsis of an NLP practitioner course, about 7 or 8 days. So you have to send in a whole structure of a 7-day NLP practitioner course, how you would do that. And then there you get the feedback on your ideas. We also had a training, or like a practice around this synopsis as well. So we would get even more feedback about that. Obviously, we didn't really learn anything about the meta program, the meta model, whatever there is, all the NLP techniques, because I think this is something you just have to bring there and in your knowledge. But you can always ask the NLP trainers if you're not too sure. Everything is also in the manual if you want to read through something. And we also did a lot of training to dig deeper and refresh all the NLP techniques again. So we were on the most updated level that's possible.
Any interesting lessons about teaching more generally rather than NLP specifically?
Everything that I've learned there, you can also use for everything else in life that is in the field of training. Because everything that we've learned and practiced, we were asked afterwards, okay, so where can you apply that? And it's important to be very specific with this answer, because if you say you're everywhere, it's nothing. So in coaching, in working with children, in working with clients, in therapy in general, in social media even. So it's not NLP. It doesn't have to be in the NLP field.
Now, how does Richard define charisma, and now how do you define it?
I don't know how Richard defines charisma.
How do you define it?
Good question.
Yeah, I define charisma as dragging people into interesting information and influencing people on a level that they don't even notice. So making people feel better through training without them noticing what's going on, but just being dragged into the talk.
That's cool.
Orlando, how do you define it?
How do I define it?
Yeah.
I would define charisma as a series of behaviors exhibited by one person that increases the appeal of them personally or their information they're sharing to the group of people they're sharing it. Rich has asked, if there was only one NLP technique, which one would you use?
You're eliciting my decision strategy here. What would I use? Okay, 3, 2, 1, fast phobia cure, because it's so powerful.
Do you suggest people who would like to attend this training should have any experience with clients?
Do you suggest? That means if I think they should have clients before?
Well, in your opinion, if people are going to attend the training, should they have experience with clients, or would it be beneficial for them to have clients, or does it not matter?
I don't think that this really matters, to be honest, because how I looked at NLP throughout my whole NLP career is that I apply everything that I've learned for myself first. And after that, I started working with clients. So you can be selfish with that. Do it for yourself.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for that, Christina. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on here. I've really enjoyed your perspective, and I am thoroughly looking forward to watching what is undoubtedly, in my mind, going to be a very successful career for Christina as a coach, as a trainer, as an NLP trainer, and to watch the evolution of Serotonin Rising over the coming months and years. And I really hope that you'll accept my invitation for the future for 6 to 12 months time to come back and update us all on where you're going, where you're taking Serotonin Rising, and where the future, what will hold in the future for you.
Well, you know, there's so much that I've planned, and right now I'm putting everything into a plan, into tiny little steps. So I have the overview, and I'm continuing now to build my coaching business, because that's what I've done besides my studies. And now I have the full focus, I have the full energy and time to do that. And hosting NLP and other educational workshops at the same time, so I can also make an income. And you know, because it's always at the beginning of something, it's new, and the more I do it, the easier it gets, and the more clients I have. So I focus more and more and more on building my coaching business, and also I'm planning on hosting more workshops online and in real life. And then also, obviously, I want to host my first NLP practitioner in summer in German. So I'm going to do that in German. And the plan is to, in the future, also do it in English. Let's see what happens, but mainly focusing on the German market with that.
Very cool. Well, look, Christina from afar, which is not that far away, England's not that far from Germany, we will be watching, and I will share with the group your Instagram details, and I'll also put that in the video notes below, and any other contact details that you'd like to make available to me, so that members of this group and people that are watching this video after enjoying the experience of your experiences can continue following you through that social media, watching you grow as a trainer, watching your business grow, and possibly even get in touch with you for some quality training coming up very soon in the future. So thank you very much, Christina. And from myself and everyone here, thank you and good night.
Thank you.